And we are up and going. Good morning, Wendy. Or good
Hi,
afternoon. Good
Right.
afternoon, rather.
Good afternoon. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you as well. So I randomly came across you and your profile just going through LinkedIn one day, and I saw that you had commented about, wanting to try to get on as many podcasts as possible within, what was left of 2019 and into 2020. So I thought, hey, I have a podcast. She looks really interesting. Let's see if I can get her on. And so I'm happy to have you on here
I'm very happy and grateful to be here.
because you touch on a very interesting subject, and a subject that is very relevant and has really evolved through just the past, I would say even the past just 5 years. And that is kindness, and really imploring that to our children, our young children. How did you get into that?
Well, as like anything, I kind of got into it by accident and by personality. I wrote Pika Bunny Has a Big Question, and that's my book about kindness and love over 2 decades ago. And it got rejected because at that time kindness wasn't relevant. So they didn't think they could sell it because if you think about it, if you're older, people were kinder back then. And I think that we may have taken it for granted looking at where we are right now. And I just decided to try things for myself. Like I was mentoring kids to be their best they can, to find what they're interested in, to look ahead for colleges and careers, or not college, but careers and jobs where they were going to be happy. And then I realized I had manuscripts hidden away that I wasn't applying my own advice to. So in 2014, I got some courage and I brushed up the manuscripts thinking that maybe I would self-publish and just have copies for my children's children because my children were in college at that time. And it's gone way beyond what I could hope for, and I hope it keeps going. I've been very blessed. It's been a very big surprise.
Well, as we step into our lane, where we're supposed to be in this life, it seems like things just kind of naturally progress and get quote unquote easier to accomplish. So it definitely sounds like you found your lane there. And when you wrote the book all those years ago, are you coming from a background of any kind of like psychology or sociology type of education or anything like that?
Well, I would say not really. My degree is in education, and I did want psychology as a major at one point, but I changed out of that. But what really stuck with me in my childhood was Mr. Rogers. And I grew up in a broken home. But when Mr. Rogers spoke to me, he was really talking to me. He was talking to me. He knew Wendy. Like, how did he know me? Sometimes I'd wave at the camera to see if he'd wave back, and never did. I'm talking about when I'm really small, of course.
Of course.
But just the way he was and the way he made me feel accepted. And if I was scared, he was talking about feelings and how it was okay to be scared, what that feels like, and then what you can do with that anxiety in a positive way, just things like that. And I did go into dance choreography for my first career, and I love to tell stories, so my stories were told through movement and dance, and I choreographed dances for children and high schoolers. So storytelling was kind of inside of me, so now it's coming out in a different way.
Okay. So you're taking your storytelling from a physical expression to now more of a verbal or mental expression of that storytelling, and it seems to be catching on. When you said you got your degree in education, now did you ever were you ever actually employed, like as teaching, like grades, like like kindergarten, first grade, anything like that?
No, I've never been a teacher.
Okay.
Not in that setting. I do tutor math. I've been a math tutor for 17 years. I happen to be very good at math. I learned the new ways that they're doing math now. But what I really like to do is help young people not be so anxious about math. And one of the points where we connect the earliest when I have a new student or client is I tell them the truth. I'm like, I don't like math either. And they're like, wait a minute, you tutor math? I'm like, yeah, I know. I don't really enjoy math, but I'm good at it and I can explain it to you. And then maybe you'll feel better when you go back to class tomorrow and think, oh yeah, okay, I've got this, and just get some more confidence. And that's really what my tutoring is about.
Okay. So you're connecting with the student coming from a place of, hey, I know that you're anxious about this. And guess what? I used to be too. But, let me explain this to you. And I bet by the end, you won't be so anxious anymore and you'll have some confidence to go forward and really start tackling your studies. So it's connection.
It is. It's all about connection in that relationship. It takes a while to build a relationship with a teenager, of course. It takes time to build a relationship with anybody, but maybe sometimes, especially teens, especially when, I'm in my 50s, so they're thinking, how does this lady in her 50s know what she's doing? Like, oh, I'll show you. I'll show you. And then I'll also show you that I'm not a robot because I can make mistakes. And when I make a mistake, I'm like, oh, you know what? I forgot the negative right there. So let's back up. And then, sometimes we laugh about it. And I always tell them when I meet them, I'll say, you've got to watch me because if we're doing evens, like on a homework assignment together, and I start doing number 13, which I'll do it right, but I'll be doing the wrong problem. You got to keep me on so we don't do too much extra. And then they laugh. So I don't sell myself as the perfect person. So that kind of helps me connect as well.
Yeah, it absolutely does, because I think even at a young age, I think if someone is really honest with themselves, they can understand that, as highly as I might think of myself, I'm not perfect. And this person is being upfront with me that they're not perfect either. So again, you can have that form of connection and bond there with, hey, we're both imperfect people trying to get this thing done. So let's just help each other.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, you go to schools, correct? And actually speak in front of classes of young kids. Do you find that kind of, hey, we're both not perfect, but we're trying our best. Do you find that really helps you relate to those groups of kids that you talk to about kindness?
It does. So as an author, when I go into schools or classrooms, or even I have a lot of Skype calls that I make. It's wonderful. I have like 300,000 Skype miles with classrooms all over the world. The very first, if we're going to talk about bullying, and that's Pika Bunny says eat, if we're going to have that discussion if the teacher chooses that book, the very first thing I say is, or I ask them a question, and my question is, do you know it takes courage to write a book about bullying? And then there's silence because they're like, yeah, I bet. And is this what we're talking about? And there's a lot of silence. So I use a little hand gesture with the pinky and the thumb out, and we go back and forth. So I said, if I'm ever saying anything and you don't feel comfortable enough to raise your hand, but you want to use this little hand signal that means me too, or I get it, or I understand what you're saying, you can do that. So as I'm reading, I can pick up the areas that I need to talk about the most due to these little hand signals. And we talk about the bully, and I tried to reword it and say, well, we really probably should say the person doing the bullying, because it's not, maybe fair to label someone. And I asked them, what is a bully? And the 5-year-olds will tell me bullying is when someone does an act of unkindness over and over until it hurts to make you feel bad about yourself. Okay, like, wow, I'm so glad we're having these discussions. And we talk about, the person doing the bullying is probably getting bullied somewhere else that we can't see. There's probably a reason. It's probably not about you. It's something about that's happening with that person that's doing the bullying. And we do talk about that, because we don't want to bully the bully back. We don't want to yell. We just want to say no to bullying.
Now, are you being like literal with the saying no, just like actually saying no to someone that is being unkind to you, just saying no, stop that, versus just ignoring them, or being, or like you said, being maybe violent to them, trying to get them away from you?
I am. What I'm trying to do is work with the early elementary year grades. And what has been going on in schools, they're trying so many things. Well, some people are ignoring and some people are trying a lot of different programs and things. But what the kids really want, because I did research this for 2 years, what the kids want is a voice. So I already had Pika Bunny as my main character, and he's really an American pika. And I tried to fit in things from the standpoint of the habitat and the real pika into the stories. So the American pika actually says eep when some predator is in its territory. So that was a natural word to say no. So we use eep or no. So when I was in the editing phase of Pika Bunny Says Eep, I was actually at a school in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I was telling them the premise. It's, if you witness bullying, because usually if you're getting bullied at school, there are people around watching. They're called witnesses. They're witnessing it.
Right.
And how does that feel? I think it feels bad, and then I see a lot of hands. Like, yeah, how many of you witnessed it? And then I get all of these handshakes, And I'm like, well, what happens is if we see bullying, we can help a friend and just say eep or no. We don't yell at the bully, because that's bullying, or the person bullying, because that's bullying the person who's bullying, and that. What that does is give the bully more power. If you're yelling at the bully, then the bully's like, wow, not only am I bothering this person right here I started with, now I'm bothering this person because this person is screaming at me, and they're getting more power. But if a bunch of people say no, then all of a sudden it takes the power away from the bully, and then people were talking. Those little first graders were talking on the side of the library. So I walked over there, and there was a little girl sitting in the middle, and her eyes were huge. And she's looking at me like, what's going on? And there were 2 rings of kids just saying no to her, just not screaming, just saying no. And some were saying eep. And I looked at the kids that were talking, and I said, is it working? And they smiled and they said yes. So they just want a voice to say something. And if they can do that with classroom management, if somebody is, they notice it's been really mean to somebody, and they're witnessing it, all they have to do is say eep. And if 10 people are just saying eep, then the bully's like, the person doing the bullying is like, oh, I've been called out. And it just stops it. Now, I'm not saying it's the end all, but it can work before the problem gets out of hand. It can actually help. I've got a lot of feedback from teachers, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, I could totally see that helping and getting that under control, especially at a younger age where, kids are less prone to actually escalating, the bullying to any kind of real shaming or violence or anything like that. But
Right.
it goes back to that saying of there's power in numbers. So just like you're saying, you have people speaking up, those kids speaking up, saying eep or saying no, and the bully realizes, oh, I'm really outnumbered here, and I should maybe stop. And
Exactly. Like people are gonna, yeah, they're noticing, and they don't feel comfortable. We even practice it. We get a pretend person that bullies, and we get a pretend person who's getting bullied, and the pretend bully will say something, and then everybody will be silent. And I say, okay, what can you say? And they're like, oh, they get it. I'm like, all right, we'll practice again. 1, 2, 3. And then it starts again. And then we just hear eep, eep, eep. And the person, it's happened almost every single time. The person that's the pretend bully, they will actually like smile and they will turn their backs away from the class. It's a natural reaction. Nobody's yelling at them. And of course, the pretend bully knows it, it's all in play. But I said, that's what really happens, is that the person who's doing the bullying most of the time will want to turn away and stop.
I see. So just real quick, because I can't seem to get this out of my head. I wanted to go back to Mr. Rogers just for a second,
Oh, let's do. I love it.
and because you made the comment about back in those days that people were more kind, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. Do you feel that people were actually more kind, or is it the fact that social media has and cell phones and all this has brought out this behavior more? Like, it was already there, but this new medium that kids have access to now has brought it forward. It was the same, but now it's just more prevalent because they feel they have permission or validation to do this because they see it in their devices and on TV.
I think it's, for me, I'm just speaking from my experience. To me, it started happening around the late, mid to late 80s. So, I'm old. I'll be 55 next month. So I remember the very first time I was noticing it was, so back then when you were dating, the guy usually opened the car door for you, or opened all the doors for you.
Sure.
And then there got to a point where you would both walk to the passenger side of the car, and then I noticed that, people would go, now, do you open your own car door, or what? And they kind of like were like, ugh. And I said, I can open. I didn't understand when the first time a boy asked me that. And I was like, I can open my own car door. And he goes, oh, well, I've just been really yelled at for that girls can now, they want to open their own car door. So I was just asking what you liked. Then I noticed, so I'm just talking about my experience of what I saw, because I think there was a time in feminism where some women were standing up for themselves because they wanted to be independent, and then other people took that to the extreme and started yelling at people for opening their doors, not just the car doors. Like, I remember being at a Kmart, and a man opened the door for a woman, and she stood there and just screamed, I am a strong woman, and I am not against feminism. I think women are awesome. I think men are awesome. I think we're equal. I'm not dissing them. I'm just saying, this time in the area where I lived, I noticed a lot of the women were screaming about a door. And I'm like, I understand that we want to be equal, but it was just taken to such an extreme. I mean, I feel bad to say it, but some people took it to an extreme that made people afraid to do kind things.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just saw, social media is not making it any better.
Yeah. Now, just out of curiosity, you may have mentioned this and I might have missed it, but where did you grow up? Where did you have this experience?
I live in East Tennessee, in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay, so you're still
and it's not
there.
All the women. I'm just saying that I've had these conversations that I've witnessed.
Yes.
People believe in, and I believe in it too. I just don't want anybody to be mad. If you weren't alive then, you didn't live where I lived, then you didn't have the same experiences that I witnessed.
Well, of course, and that's why I asked, where you were from, because I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Kansas, and even though I was born in 1980, so I kind of came up sort of along the same timeline as you, but maybe just a little bit different. But I would think it'd be close enough. I might have had the same types of experiences, but generally what I found, especially when I was dating and coming up and all this, all the girls that I was dating, they still appreciated the fact that I opened the car door for them, that I opened the door in front of them. Yeah. And thankfully, I never got yelled at for it. But I was wondering if that might have been like a regional thing, or if it was,
It could have been. It could have been. Other people might have had the same experiences, or not even close to that kind of experience. But I didn't date a lot of people, but I just started noticing in the late 80s, I'm in college age, and every single person, the new person I went out with was asking me, did I want the door open for me or not? And obviously it was a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, some people would take it to an extreme, but also it was a time where people were kind of developing a new way or seeing a new way to interact with the world and interact with each other. And just like anything, we're all just trying to figure it out. We don't know the best way to interact with everybody, but we're just all trying to figure it out.
Right, exactly. So
Yeah.
those are my own experiences.
So you feel that social media has not helped the
It's
the whole
definitely
the whole
not
kindness
helpful.
and bullying thing is it's
Well,
not helping us out.
yeah, I took a break from Twitter for a long time because I tried to just feed into the positivity and like the things that are positive because I don't like a lot of negative things to end up in my feed. But when people are yelling at people because they're anonymous and just because their opinions are different and not that nobody's really wrong in this scenario, it just puts a bad taste in your mouth and you can get overwhelmed by it. And then I think people people get afraid to even say anything. That my favorite color is gray. What? Your favorite color is gray? Blah 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 blah. Ooh, and I'd like to. It just the pendulum to swing back into where we were more kind to each other. And if somebody's favorite color is gray, which by the way mine's gray, is it like why is your favorite color gray? Maybe just to find out more about it. I
Right.
don't know.
Right. Going more into an actual conversation versus a confrontation just because there's a difference of opinion between two people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree that is something that is missing in our time right now. I see, and I see it on social media as well, obviously. And I see posts on Facebook sometimes that I read them and I'm just like, ooh, that is clickbait so hard. And I just want to type back at them. And there are times when I just can't help myself. I have to just at that
If they
person.
say eep,
Oh,
right?
I have so much more to say than eep though, Wendy.
Of course. But that's when I scroll through and I look for where's a puppy? Where's
Where's
a
the
newborn
puppy?
baby? Where's my friend's new grandchild? I got to see this. I got to see positive things.
Oh, and that's a definite practice, a good practice to get into. Just put your energy towards the things that you want to see in the world versus putting it towards things you feel like you have to fight against. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's something I've been working on for a while. But like I said, every once in a while, I just cannot help myself.
Do you ever type and then go, oh, delete comment, delete comment?
I don't think so.
Edit.
No,
Okay,
no.
you just put it out there.
If
Mr.
I've made, if,
O'Brien.
because another thing about being, trying to figure out how to interact with people, you have to really know or try to figure out not only who you are, but who someone else is, if you're going to have a real dialogue or any chance of a real dialogue. So I figure once I put myself out there in that capacity, yeah, there's going to be people that disagree with me, maybe even don't like me or unfriend me. But that it really doesn't bother me anymore, because if they can't truly have a conversation about, my point of view on a subject, and all they want to do is, say, you're an idiot or you're just ignorant or whatever and delete me, well, then I don't really have a chance with that person anyway. So later. That's just how I look at it. You got to be yourself anymore these days.
So did I answer your question about Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, yeah, you did. I more used that framing to take us back in time to talk about, the differences between people, if they were seemingly more kind back then, or if they just really were. And I think that kind of brings up another question about that subject or that point in time. Um, do you think that parenting had a bigger influence versus on people being kind back in the Mr. Rogers days versus now?
Oh yeah, I mean, we had different expectations on us, in the 60s and 70s. You were to give almost any adult a hug who asked for one. Um, you're A lot of kids would, get in trouble like that was rude. Mr. Smith wanted a hug and blah blah blah, and you're like, I don't know, Mr. Smith, why do I have to hug him?
Mm,
And I think parents are more aware now, the ones that grew up in that time frame, remembering how that feels. They don't as often make their children, acknowledge people like that anymore, which is a positive, I think, is a good thing. I mean, in a way, it is a good thing. We shouldn't have to hug people if we don't want to.
yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. I was thinking more along the lines of parenting in terms of teaching your children to not necessarily give somebody affection whether you feel that you wanted to or not. More along the lines of, this is how we treat people. Like, this is how you're supposed to treat someone. You be nice. You don't say negative things about them. If they don't do anything to you, or they're not harming you, they're not being mean, you be nice to that person. That's kind of where I was going with that. And I'm wondering if you think that has changed in the roles of parenting these days.
I think maybe it has. I think maybe when we had kindness, we were taking it for granted and thinking, it was just going to be there, and not realizing that you had to teach it,
Mm,
and that we have to actually now. I mean, I have an app. It's called the Pika Bunny Kindness Tracker that helps kids track their acts of kindness at home, at school, and for our planet. And of course, the books now. There are a lot of books now, and little movies, TV series that talk about kindness. So kids are more. I think everybody starts out to be kind, but then sometimes it grows out of us too. Do you agree?
I do agree with that. And whether it's from parental experiences at home, or an influx of bullying or whatever at school, or if it's an influx of information and images from the cell phones. I absolutely do agree that it can be kind of grown out of us. But yes, we don't start out that way. We start out as, in my opinion, just innocent souls who all we want to do is smile and have fun and make each other happy. And then life kind of gets in the mix, and sometimes that can get lost.
They sure can. It just can grow. It can just grow out of people. I'm hoping it won't. I'm trying to instill such a habit that maybe somebody will, still cling to it and appreciate it when they're an adult.
Well, I don't think it ever truly leaves us. What I think is, it's just the fact that the the negative emotions, the negative feelings, negative energies, just to put it all under one roof, the negative energies for us as humans are faster for us to grasp and get a hold of. So we think of something that makes us angry or makes us sad. We can get there emotionally very, very quickly with that thought. But and that's why it's a lot more pervasive everywhere. You'll see it on the social feeds. That's why the news is always about, doom and gloom and drama, because we latch onto it so quick. But the kindness thing, and happiness and love and gratitude, those are far more powerful. They're far more powerful
I agree.
emotionally, and they can change they can change our physiology, not only our mental state, but our physiology, but they're just a little bit harder to grasp onto. And, but they're still there because like you said, show me, I need puppies right now. I need pictures of my grandkids, because that will change that mental state. It'll change your feed online, and hopefully help somebody else too, because it's still there. It's like we're hardwired for it. It's just easy to, I guess, forget it. It's easier to latch onto that negative energy.
Or sometimes you're just fed up with something. You just take it as much as you can, and then kindness is not the very first thing you think of when you want to react to something.
That is very true. We get into these states sometimes of emotional overload.
Yeah.
It's almost like, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a lack of awareness, or if it's just embarrassment, not wanting to express yourself when that boiling just starts to happen, and then we just repress it down until it finally just explodes. What do you think that is? Do you think it's an embarrassment, or do you think it's like self-awareness, or what is that?
I think that the answers are just as individual as the people you're talking to, or the people, as many people there are out there, there are going to be different answers. It can be that. It can be maybe they don't have the courage to be kind because maybe somebody yelled at them because they opened the door. Maybe they just got yelled at too many times when they were kind. And they were trying to do something nice and people didn't understand, and that person was having a bad day, and maybe, it just there's a lot of friction for some people at some points.
So you're saying that you think maybe there's, not only is it easier to latch on to negative energies, it's also easier to express outwardly negative energies.
Yeah, because usually there's not an immediate backlash. Usually if somebody explodes, then it's just, what are the repercussions? Aren't usually many sometimes.
I would say that it just depends on the manner and the situation.
Well, true. I mean, I know, but so if somebody goes off on my Twitter because I said I liked gray, what really happens to that person? Nothing. I might block them. They don't care.
Yeah.
They don't like me anyway because I like gray. But if you're, and it doesn't really hurt if you're mad at somebody and you're mean to somebody and they block you, but if you're nice to somebody and it's not well received, that hurts.
Okay.
That's what I'm just thinking about my own experiences.
Yeah. I could see that because in some instances like that act of kindness can be a vulnerability for that person. And
Yes.
then when it's not, like you say, when it's not received well, or it's actually pushed back against it, it could hurt, because you're, in a sense, you're burying yourself. You're being your honest self with that person, and they don't appreciate it.
Right. So that's why I'm hoping, if we can practice tracking these acts of kindness with kids, that it becomes so ingrained in them that they'll have enough positive experience behind it to keep it going when they get older.
I see.
It's just an experiment. I'm just trying. I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
I'm no Mr. Rogers. I would love to meet Mrs. Rogers, though. But I'm not Mr. Rogers, but I'm just trying to, when he helped me, I'm just trying to move it forward.
Right. And so the app that you've created and the stories that you've created, it's almost kind of like a snowball, or you're hoping that it has a snowball type effect when it comes to kindness. And you start early, and as they go, that snowball gets bigger and bigger. That way the negative stuff down the line doesn't hold near as much weight as all their positive experiences have.
That's what, yes. It's time will tell, but maybe for some people it will help them. And I think that hopefully they'll even be a happier person, because when you're kind to somebody, it's well received. It feels so good.
Absolutely.
for both people.
Absolutely. It's like a high, really, you know, when you do an act of kindness for somebody and you're not expecting anything in return, and they express that gratitude to you for something that you've done. It's amazing. It's the best drug ever, I think.
Yeah, like if you smile at somebody, and you just look them in the eye and smile real, like not look them in the eye, but you're just looking at them, you actually see the person and you smile at them, and you'll be surprised at how many times people will say, wow, that's the first smile I've seen today. Or thank you. Like I went out for dinner with a friend the other night, and the waiter said, hi, how are you tonight? And like normal when you're sitting down. And I said, I'm fine. How are you? I looked up at him. I said, I'm fine. And how are you? And then he kind of like looked at me and he goes, oh, wow. Oh, I'm good. Thank you very much. And I was like, what is he? And then I realized maybe nobody had asked him how he was,
Mm.
and he was smiling at me, and he gave me that was nice service.
Wow.
I guess he was grateful. All I did was ask him how his day was back.
I can't, like,
And it made a difference for him.
That it seems so simple, but it obviously had a really great impact on him, and it actually shocked him. Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's because of the the fact that he is a waiter, at this point in time, like he's in a service position. I wonder if that's why maybe that he doesn't get asked that, because they just sit down and they expect to be served and not engage in a actual like human interaction.
Maybe I didn't want to embarrass him by asking him, but it left an impact on me, and I thought, oh, I'm going to be asking that more often when I'm at a restaurant, or if somebody's helping me, and they say that because that's how they're greeting it. I'm going to be saying it back. Hopefully,
Yeah. I say it back to anybody that asks me how I am. I think it's common courtesy, at least for me, and how I was brought up. Like somebody asks you about you, you ask them about them, you both say each other are fine, even though that's probably not the truth. And then you just go on.
You're just trying to be pleasant.
Exactly.
But when I raised my kids, it was, stranger danger. It's after 9/11, it was after 9/11, and those strangers are, we don't really want them to know your name, so maybe that's part of it too. Maybe why.
And now there's stranger danger with all this human trafficking going on. That is horrendous.
Well, my daughter lives very, very far away from me, so I don't like to. I know it's out there. She practices being safe and everything, but whoo, that's really hard as a parent.
Yeah, absolutely. And even as somebody that I don't have any kids, but even as somebody that is empathetic towards other people, I see all the time like kids running around and playing, and there's no adult to be seen. And in my head, I'm just like, what is wrong with you people?
Little kids have run up to me like at the park, and I'm looking around. I cannot find an adult.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where's your mommy? And they're like, over there somewhere. And all the kids are doing it. It's not just one kid.
I know. I mean, I don't necessarily think that we should, teach them why they shouldn't be doing that. I just think as parents, they should be getting out there and keeping an eye on their kids.
Well, there are a lot of bad people out there. So
yeah.
So far they've been lucky, I guess.
There are a lot of bad people out there, and you can only do as much as you can do to help protect your kids and whatever. But letting them run around and ride their bikes at all hours of the night after the sun's gone down is not one of them.
Well, I used to live in the suburbs of Chicago when I was in early elementary school, and we used to be out like we were kicked out of the house after school, after if there was any homework done. And then we were given watches and told to come back at 6. And we were 5 and 6 years old. Come back at 6, that's dinner time. So it's a our generation experienced it too, but just in a kind of a different way.
Yeah. I wasn't allowed to leave my yard until I was probably like, I don't know, 7 or 8. And even after that, I wasn't allowed to leave my block. Like, I couldn't ride my bike in the street. So yeah.
There was a couple. See, we all walked to school, so it was about. I was in kindergarten. We would walk about 5 blocks. I didn't have any brothers and sisters, so a lot of times I would start out by myself and then find a friend on the way. And I remember, there were some scary things on the way to school sometimes.
Yeah, I believe that.
Mhm.
Yeah, just different times. Yeah, I wasn't even allowed to walk to or from school until I was like, what, 13, I think. I think that was
different times.
Yeah.
Way different times. So
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of different times and technological things, you had mentioned the app that you have for this kindness tracker. Is that a new development, or how long has that been around?
The 1.0 version came out at the end of May for BookCon, and it went through beta testing, and my 2.0 version I think it was live in October. So,
and this is 2019?
Yes.
Okay.
Last year, yes. And I have a lot of positive feedback from adults who said to me they wish that there was an adult version, but they still use the kids version, but instead of school they substitute work, like helping a partner or So what I'm doing, I just announced this today, is that I already have an app that tracks areas of kindness in the corporate world or for workplace. So if any of your listeners want to put some input on that, they can find me on LinkedIn, or they can go to my website, wendygilhula.com, and email me from there and just tell me what they might like to see on an app, like what acts of kindness are important to them in the workplace, especially.
Okay. So this is still in the development phase then, the adult version of this app.
Yes, it's just being created now, so it will have to go through some beta testing. Mm-hmm. But I love to get feedback beforehand on things that are important to people, because I'm not in the corporate world. I work for myself, so I'm not in a building sharing office space with anybody. So I haven't lately. So I would like to get some feedback from people who are, and those people who find kindness important.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if anybody listening or watching, if you have experiences that will have impacted you in the corporate world, yeah, definitely get a hold of Wendy via her website and her LinkedIn, and of course all of that I will link below here, so it's just one click away for you, and hopefully get you some good input, and that way maybe it'll just go from beta test to version 1.0 and hit the ground running. That'd be great.
I would look forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you can introduce me to Mrs. Rogers.
Mrs.
Either one. Just please contact me.
Very cool. Very cool. So one more thing about the app. Is it Android, or is it iOS, or is it both?
It's both.
It's both?
It's both. I believe that the version for the workplace will probably only come out in iOS first. And then I'll get that beta testing done and then do the Android. Because it seems like the i version has been more popular than the Android. I don't know why. Do you have Android?
I do have Android.
Okay. Well, you can get the Pika Bunny Kindness Tracker right now and use it for yourself since you don't have kids.
Okay.
Substitute school for work, and then give it a whirl, and then some feedback for maybe the I feel funny calling it the adult version, but for the workplace version, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, maybe some of the feedback you can get will be for naming the app.
There you go. I could use all kinds. I use all kind. I'm open to all kinds of feedback. Yeah.
And so for this app being out, let's see, you said back in October is when it really launched?
2.0. Yeah.
Okay. So it's been out for about 4 months ish. How would you say it's doing? Like, how many downloads do you have? Do you know?
I have not. I do not know how many downloads I have. I wouldn't say it's thousands and thousands yet, but
And then
it's doing pretty well.
Is it for free or is it
It's
a paid
free.
app?
The kids version is absolutely for free.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah, because that's kind of my mission. My mission statement is to help children navigate a difficult world. So yeah, it's free. Grab it. Yeah.
Excellent. And then going back to the kids and the teaching and things like that. Do you have a like a set number of events that you have like throughout the year of places that you go and speak, or is it kind of just off the cuff, like where you may get invited?
It's a lot of it's where I might get invited. I don't have specific months where I only go visit schools.
Okay.
So if I can fit it into my schedule, I'll probably make it work. So the Skype visits, I used to have teachers sign up through Microsoft, but that site has just changed. But you can Google Wendy Gilhula and Microsoft and probably get that new link. I don't know if I think it's going to be live by the time you probably air this, if you're a teacher. Or if you're a teacher, I have lots of teachers following me on Instagram. So I'm at Pika Bunny Says. And just DM me. I will, it's me, it's not a virtual assistant. I will, if you'd like to schedule a reading, just let me know.
Okay. And is that normally like what you'll do when you go visit a school? Is you'll have like, say the teacher will pick a certain book and you'll go read it and then try to relay the message to the kids?
Yes. So Pika Bunny in the Thunderstorm, which also happens to, it's in all English and dual language in Spanish as well. This book deals with anxiety about approaching thunderstorm. So hospitals like this story because it can be any kind of thunderstorm that's coming in your life, not necessarily a real thunderstorm.
I see.
And Pika Bunny has a big question. This is the one about kindness, where Mama asks Pika what love is, or Pika asks Mama what love is. Or they can choose from Pika Bunny Says Eat, where Pika Bunny helps a friend find the courage to say no to bullying. And then I have a Pika Bunny coloring book. And I have a rhyming book, Mother's Best, where Mama teaches Robin how to fly and why that's important. So that's what I have so far. I do have a manuscript out for my first chapter book series. I'm trying to find a home for it. I have queries out for that.
Yeah, I remember you posting on LinkedIn that you're looking around for possible like a publishing house or anything like that. And you've said that you've self-published in the past, though, right?
No, I have a publisher. She has a very, very small traditional arm of her publishing, but I think she's wanting to go to self-publishing. And for me, I don't think I want to do that at this time. Other people do it and they have so much fun with it, and that's great. But I'm looking for more of a traditional publisher to take on my new series. Pika Bunny and Friends is what it's called, the series. So we'll see.
Okay.
If you know of anybody out there might be interested, please have them contact me.
Well, truth be told, I haven't said this to very many people yet, but I'm in the process of writing my own book as well, and I'm going to be looking at the prospect of getting a publisher or self-publishing. I haven't decided which way to go yet because it's still pretty early, but yeah,
it's hard. It's a hard choice.
Yeah, what makes you want to do traditional publishing versus self-publishing?
To be honest.
Yeah.
I'm not good at sales. So if you're in self-publishing, you have to be good at sales. Whereas the marketing more will be taken over by a bigger publishing house. Of course, you have to help. You have to help yourself. You have to be
Sure.
out there and be willing to talk to people about the book and everything.
Hmm.
But it's easier to get your book on the internet and other places to be seen. To me, in my experience, that's what I'm not. If you have the sales gene, then go for it. You already know what to do, so
Hmm.
you'll probably be fine. Not you personally, but like anybody doing that. I
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying there. Yeah, and there's obviously going to be trade-offs. I would assume that
yeah.
working with a traditional publisher, you would get like less of a cut, so to speak, of
Oh,
what your book sales
absolutely.
are.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Change on each book. Yeah. Like, yeah, especially as a paperback. Yeah. You can jingle it in your pocket. Yes. But so
Yeah.
you are self-published. You can get more money in the front end. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
But I suggest that if anybody does self-publishing, to get a few editors to double check you on your grammar, your spelling. Um, Maybe if something's not clear, you get an editor for that part to make sure that everything's clear. I highly recommend that. I've seen too many people have to start over because they didn't have an editor at all.
As a person that has put multiple books together, what's the best time to get an editor to look at it? Like, is when it's all done, or when you're like halfway, or what do you think?
Well, I would get it all down on paper first. That's what I like to do.
Uh-huh.
Not your rough first draft. You have to try to edit it all yourself, and then you can get like I have beta readers. I have 7 little kids who live in my cul-de-sac, and they love to help me to get some. If you're not writing for kids, then you get your relatives or your friends to read it for you, and don't be sensitive about feedback. Just be open and hear what they're saying. Apply what, like, oh yeah, you know what, they're right about that, and just have an open mind and you'll learn a lot. Edit it yourself as much as you can and then send it off to an editor. That's what I would do. You'll save a lot
Okay.
of money that way.
That makes sense. That does make sense.
You
Yeah.
don't want to scribble something down and send it off to an editor and make them fix it, because then they're not fixing it in your words the way you know you'll
Right.
lose a lot of yourself if you give it over to an editor too early.
Right. Yeah. I've heard something about along the lines of having an editor read it to make sure that you're staying in your voice throughout the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of guessing that's what you're getting into with that.
Or in content, like, wow, this whole paragraph did not make sense. Like, you think it's clear, but then you realize, oh yeah, I can see where that
Yeah.
was clear now. Yes.
Yeah.
You
Well,
just have
it
to be
made
open though.
yeah, it
to
made
hear
sense
you.
in my head.
Right. Just because it made sense in Wendy's head doesn't mean it's going to make sense in anybody else's head. That's why I need help. That's why I'm open to hearing other people, because they most people are going to give you feedback wanting it to be better for you. Most people. So if they're spending the time reading it and then giving you some feedback, a lot of it will be positive, but if there's some, not necessarily negative, but if there's some constructive criticism, oh, I love that. I'm like, bring it. Yeah,
So you're saying that kindness is pretty prevalent in the authorship field.
it can be. So, you have to remember who you're asking first.
I don't know who to ask to begin with, so I guess I'm just going to have to learn that lesson as I go.
Well, you can find some beta readers on LinkedIn. I'm sure there are people that would like to give you some helpful feedback. Authors who have already been published in your field.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people like to give feedback like that
Oh,
because they're
yeah,
building communities to do that.
that's a good idea.
Maybe just give them a few chapters and then give somebody else a few chapters. You don't necessarily have to give them the entire thing.
Yeah, I'll definitely keep that in the back of my brain.
Yeah,
Thank you. Appreciate that.
there's always people willing to help. You just have to be, smart about it.
Yep. You have to be smart about it and like you said, receptive to their feedback, because in a sense, that's your core audience, you know, in speaking about the kids in your cul-de-sac, you know.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, oh, you're 6 years old. What the heck do you know, kid? This is brilliant.
No. I mean, I go to them for all kinds of advice. They asked me, Wendy, what are you going to be for Halloween? And I was like, oh, I don't know. Maybe I'll get some wings and be a fairy. And they went, three of them were like that. And they went, at the same time with the finger shake. I'm like, oh, you don't think I should be a fairy? And they're like, no. And I said, what do you think I should be? And one boy goes, oh, you should be Captain Marvel. That's perfect for you. I laughed. And then I thought later, I don't want to be in the costume of Captain Marvel, but I did go as Carol Danvers, you know, before she was Captain Marvel. So we had a lot of fun at Halloween.
It does sound like a lot of fun. Very nice. Well, speaking about LinkedIn and building community and such like that, and that's obviously how I found you, and we came to have this conversation. I've
Mm-hmm.
been noticing lately that I get these notifications that says, "Hey, Wendy is trending in such and such hashtag," and it's like two, maybe even three times a week. What are you doing?
That's such a sad question. Brian, I'm just being myself. I'm just being brave and being myself and putting it out there. And like literally 90 seconds after I put it out there, most of the time I'm going, okay, should I take this off? Should I delete it before anybody reads this? What should I do? What should I do? I think that when you're on LinkedIn, people really appreciate it if you're authentic and you're true to yourself. And I just have been brave putting myself out there. I don't have any secrets. I read it myself thinking, what are they talking about? But it's been fun. I've been really more on LinkedIn since probably September of 2019. I hadn't been on it for a while because I wasn't looking for a job, but now it's grown so much and changed so much. I'm hardly even on Facebook right now.
Yeah, I try to stay off Facebook as much as I can, unless I'm, you know, doing things like either for my band or for, you know, my own personal development. But yeah, just scrolling to scroll, like very rarely anymore. But yeah, LinkedIn is definitely changing and has evolved quite a bit. And I think you're right about the whole being yourself thing and people appreciating it, because like even just like 3 years ago, we saw this just explosion online of all these gurus and experts and this and that, and people, you know, posing with you know, Lamborghinis that they had rented for an hour just to make people think they were big shots. And people finally, you know, started seeing through that and got sick of it. And now I think we're going to the inverse of that, where people are starting to really appreciate, like, you know, what you said, what you're doing is just being open and being honest. Say, this is me, this is where I'm at, and you know, if I can help you along the way, great. So
Yeah,
all
and
right.
I don't have fancy lighting, or sometimes I look like, you know, what has she been through? And other days I look a little, you know, better, I hope. But to encourage everybody, if you haven't been for a while, to come back and find us on LinkedIn. And, you know, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's developed a lot into a almost a support community for business people and entrepreneurs. Everybody seems, or at least in my feed and what I've been seeing, everybody's rooting for each other. You know, everybody's applauding their successes and you know, trying to give them encouragement when they're having those down times. And it's been a really positive transformation on that platform, I think.
Yeah, some people are, you know, really raw on there and saying what they're really going through. And a lot of people, you know, they go, wow, I can relate to that. I just had that last week, or I just felt that this morning. And a lot of people are, they're talking about giving value, like they're actually kind of giving you some free advice.
Mm-hmm.
If you read, you know, if you read their posts and or watch them go live, it's like, wow, that really helped me today. I really needed to focus on that today. And, of course in the future, they would like you to come back and, be a customer, but you can find a lot of little freebies that'll help you get started if you are stuck and don't know where to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you just mentioned, that concept of reciprocity is something that, like I said before, it got lost, in the recent past, and now it's making the resurgence with people, like you said, adding value before you ask for anything in return.
Right.
And it builds those three pillars of know, like, and trust, that once you build those pillars with somebody, they're much more inclined to, okay, now that I know, like, and trust this person, maybe I'll investigate what else they have. Maybe
Right.
all the stuff that they're giving for free is like what I could actually pay for is like 10x what what I'm getting here on LinkedIn for free. Let me just see what else this person's doing.
Yeah. When you said investigate, that's very important. Like, just, be smart and look into it, look into their feed and what they're about, and, make sure you have a little idea of who you're talking about. If somebody's just reposting other people's things and not really saying anything about themselves, you might want to, try to find value somewhere else.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
be smart about it.
Yeah. You're not gonna go buy a life-changing program from somebody that just reposts positive memes all the time.
I hope. I mean, you can if you want to, but you might not get a lot out of it.
Yeah, you might end up being one of those people that comes back and comments on other people's feeds like, oh, every online program is a scam. Like, well,
Yeah.
no, not
Right.
all of them are, but maybe
There are some. Be careful. Just be smart about it.
yeah, exactly. Thinking about, we already talked about the app, both for the kids and for the adults, that the adult one is coming out soon. Do you have any idea when that possibly might be ready for beta testing? Do you have a timeline for that?
I'm hoping that in February 2020.
Wow, that quick.
Well, because if you think about it, the acts of kindness we do at home probably shouldn't be very different than what you expect from your kids. Don't complain about chores, say good morning, give more hugs at home, listen to a sibling, listen to your parents, take care of your pets. Things like that. That kind of stuff isn't really going to change how old you are.
Yeah, that's
Being
true.
nice to our planet, composting, recycling, planting a garden, sharing fruits and vegetables from your garden, checking on a neighbor. That might be that. I don't have that on the kids because I don't want kids to randomly go over to the neighbor's house, but adults can check on a neighbor.
Yeah.
Things like that aren't going to change very much. It's the school versus workplace that's going to be the most work to fix. Or not, to
modify or repurpose.
Thank you. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. No worries. All right. Well, cool. I'm glad that they're able to, whoever's doing your development is able to basically kind of take the framework from the kids app and just kind of build the other house on that. So yeah, no wonder the timeline is that quick. That's cool. Now, if only it could just come out for Android,
Well, once I'm not against Android. It's just I'd like to. I did both at the same time, and that was a little overwhelming working with all these different people. But I'm pretty sure I will do the Android too. I'm 99.9% sure, but it'll be after I get everything I want the way I want it, and then we'll just change it over to Android.
Right.
Instead of trying to change both. That's what mistake I made is I had to keep changing both on both and then keeping up with the changes for each one. That was a little overwhelming.
Yeah, I could see how that would be overwhelming, getting a ton of emails from 2 different developers. What do you
Yeah.
think about this? What do you think about this on this
One
platform?
designer, one designer who isn't happy about such and such and that, and then it
Yeah,
all worked out fine. It was it was fun. I was not a negative experience, but I just learned just to do one at a time.
at the time. Okay. And I think honestly, I think you're not alone in that boat either, because I've seen a lot of people that have developed apps, and normally it comes out first for iOS, and then Android is like later, God knows when, how much later, but it does. It appears to be the order that most people going when they develop nowadays.
Well, Brian, I have to say that the Android was finished first for Pika Bunny Kindness Tracker. So technically it came out first in Android.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
there we
so there
go.
you go. Now I have to reverse it to make everybody else happy. Now that I made you happy, I got to make everybody else happy. Rough life.
It is. It is. And I'm a tough customer sometimes,
Are. The truth. Beep.
Uh,
I'm just kidding.
Deep, no. No, no, no.
Just
I
kidding.
just I just can't stand it. I just can't stand Apple products, that's all.
Okay. There you go.
Well, there I go, putting myself out there again. Uh, so that is the latest development on the technology side. What else is going to be coming up within the near future for Wendy? Any trips planned, or
Oh,
anything
yeah.
exciting happening with the business?
Well, let's see. In March, I'm going to be on the campus of MIT. I'm very
What?
excited. Yeah, well, yeah. I didn't go there. Don't worry. I didn't attend. My son actually attends. He's getting his PhD in chemistry there. So I go and visit the campus, and they're going to have their Random Acts of Kindness week. And keep checking my email. School's not back in yet for the semester. Oh, yeah, I think they're on semesters. But I want to try to be a part of that Random Acts of Kindness week at MIT in March, because I'm planning to go up there as well. And I'm not really allowed to say where I'm going to read, but I'm going to be reading I'm going to be reading in a hospital there. That's all I can say. And in Boston when I visit as well. So it's one of my favorite things to do.
Okay. And is that separate from the MIT
Yeah.
campus?
Yes, it's separate.
Okay, but you're still hoping to be involved with the MIT campus during their kindness
The Random Acts of
kindness week.
Kindness. Yes.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that the beta will be ready for the don't have a title for a workplace version, because they could use the school version if they wanted to, but they're kind of in a transition. So I would like to have both to offer, just what they think and get their thoughts on it. So, and any way I can spread kindness, I'd like to do.
Yeah. Well, if anybody at MIT is listening, Wendy should absolutely be involved in this, and you should have her like give a talk or
Oh, the
host a
baby's
reading.
right. Yes,
Or,
Brian, I agree
yes,
wholeheartedly.
absolutely. You know, you
Either that, or just a table in the infinite corridor, where I can tell kids, there's young people, there's this app, and have some sort of talk to them about where they'd like more acts of kindness, or maybe they experienced that act of kindness that week, and they have a few activities that I would like to be a part of. At least one, that would be nice.
yeah. And then in like 10, 15 years, you could go to one of those, you could go to MIT again, because you're now a staple there every year, and you could run into some students that you read to when they were 5 and 6 years old.
Perfect.
How
I
cool
love
would
it.
that be?
I love it. Let's just talk that into existence, because I love that idea.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to go. Get you some national recognition.
Oh, well, I don't need that. I just want to talk about kindness.
Well, I'm just saying, Wendy goes and gives a presentation at MIT about kindness. How many book publishers are going to be beating down your door?
Oh, well, let's talk that into I don't know. I just, my mission, like I said, is to help kids or young people navigate a difficult world. And, this it's very hard to be in any college, in any university. It's rough. It's,
Yeah.
they need kindness. Everybody does.
Yep. Especially in today's like politically polarized environment, there's a
It takes
lot of
everything.
kindness and empathy missing, and especially in college campuses. Like, I don't know if you've heard of, I think his name is Ben Shapiro. He's a conservative guy, but he goes around and talks on different college campuses about conservative values and such. And I've heard that he's actually been shut out of certain campuses because they just don't want to hear it, which is crazy to me that they would have that level of closed-mindedness on a college campus, that they
Well,
would actually deny someone the opportunity to speak just because of the way they view the world.
is it, you don't know what level that's really coming from either. Is it coming from the heads of the university, or is it coming more of the aspect of, well, our young people aren't going to accept that, and we don't want to be responsible because sometimes people aren't nice. You don't know.
Yeah.
There are many different reasons why people with a different opinion are not accepted.
Yeah.
And it can be reversed too. Could be that some schools are, very, 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 very traditional, and then they don't want somebody with different views coming in. You know,
Well, and that could be, and my sneaking suspicion is that kind of pushback comes from the top, from the deans and the leaders of the academia at those particular schools. I think that when you break it down, students or younger people are more open-minded than that, but maybe they have a different opinion or a different line of teaching that they do, or they're just, like you said, maybe fearful of the interactions from students that don't necessarily agree with each other once that stage gets built, so to speak.
yeah. And then they don't have control over it. They might lose control over the event. There's lots of, there are lots of things. So, if I went to somebody and they said, we're not interested in talking about saying no to bullying, I'm like, okay, we'll go on to I might ask another teacher or school, are you interested in talking about kindness or bullying? Because a lot of schools, they don't want to bring up that subject of bullying. They don't want to talk about it. They're not ready to talk about it.
Hmm.
So you'd be surprised. It's very polarizing. Either they want it, they need it, please come, or it's like, we don't think so. In fact, I had to get Pika Bunny says EAP approved in my own county school district before I could read it in any school. That's how polarizing it is. It did get approved, so I can read it in any Knox County school where I live. That's how, you wouldn't think that. You would think, oh, it's about bullying and not being mean to the person bullying. No, there's a lot involved.
Hmm.
Like I said, my first question to the kids when I read that book is, do you know it takes a lot of courage to write a book about bullying?
Hmm.
It's a lot involved.
Wow. I would never have thought. I would never have thought that you would actually get pushback on writing a book that has that kind of um, that kind of positive resolution when it comes to that situation. I find that, I mean, not obviously not hard to believe because you're saying it's true, it's happened, but
Mhm.
it's almost stunning to me that it would get pushback. I just,
Well, because
wow.
it's teachers, sometimes they have so many other problems. It's not just bullying that's happening in the classroom, and they're just overwhelmed with, everything they have to do, everything they have to teach, every form they have to fill out. Some of them just don't have it in them to talk about bullying right
Mm,
now. I'm not judging them for it because they have extremely hard jobs and very little pay.
yeah, 100% agreed with that. I've got friends that I went to school with that are now in the education system, and yeah, the only reason they're making it is because they've kind of moved up in the ranks, so to speak, or moved up in grade levels, and now they're getting paid enough where they can actually, make it. So yeah, it's a tough road being a teacher, that's for sure.
A lot of the young people coming out of universities are teaching, and they're living with their parents so that they can save money, to live on their own. They're working, they have these hard jobs, but it's too bad we can't pay our teachers more. One day maybe we will.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. I hope that day comes definitely sooner than later. I think we covered quite a bit here today, and it's been fun. And I want to just open up the floor to you. I like to do this for every one of my guests. Just open up the floor and say, if there's anything that's on your mind, or any other like overarching message that you want to impart to anybody that's listening. Just go ahead and take the floor, take the stage, and set up that MIT interview, or MIT speech for me here.
Oh, well, I don't know. Well, when you first started that, what I was going to say, was it going to be about kindness? It's going to be about courage, finding your courage. A lot of people, they have these great things that they want to do too, but they don't know how to start. And a lot of people ask me, well, how did you even start? And I say, well, I actually had to come up with what I call a mission statement. And it doesn't have to be such a looming, overwhelming mission statement. You can just have a mantra, or just something that means something to you. And mine is that my mission is to help kids navigate a difficult world. But I have to know why. You have to know why you want to do something. Like, you have to know why you, Brian, want to write your book. And then that's why do I need courage? And then what you do is you say, where am I comfortable taking that first step? So where you were comfortable, you're actually putting your words down. Some people might be, if they want to be an author, they're actually maybe, say to their brother or sister or something, what do you think about a book about such and such? And you just have to take these little baby steps. And then you have to know when you're going to actually start. I think asking somebody's opinion is actually starting. But you don't have to take these huge leaps, like have to know how to be what you would like to do. You just can take these baby steps and keep reminding yourself why you want to do that, why you need courage to do it. And you can have some beautiful stories.
That is very true. Very true. The word why in how you do anything is your absolute power.
Exactly. I actually have a free PDF. So if anybody goes to my site and I think you go to the very bottom and just give your email information, then you'll get an automatic email with this PDF, and it's Finding Courage PDF. What is my mission statement? Why do I need courage? Where do I feel comfortable taking the first step? And when will I begin? You don't have to fill it out in 5 minutes. You can just leave it on the table for a while and just think about it. It took me at least 2 weeks of really thinking about what my mission statement was, or longer. It doesn't have to be in 5 minutes. It can take you 2 months, 2 years, but you're still working on it.
Yeah, it is. It's a constant work in progress, just like us. I've to figure out my why, it took me probably a year, to be honest, just of going through the process of building myself up, educating myself, and through that really thinking about, why am I doing this? What is my purpose for doing this? And one day, it was funny. I was talking to my mom on the phone, and she asked me, well, you're doing all these different things. What do you want to do? And I didn't even think about it, and it just spilled out of my mouth. I'm like, that's really what I want to do. I didn't think about it. I didn't, try to craft some answer. I didn't have it written down. It just came out of me. And I'm like, that's right. That's it. but it took a year of learning and processing for that to just be able to come out in such simple form. So
Well,
yeah.
mind you, all my books had already been published and I still didn't have my mission statement. Because my husband kept saying, what do you want to do with all this? Like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know. And he goes, well, you got to figure out your mission statement. So that helped. So now, because I thought the whole thing was going to be about, oh, I was going to write a book and be an author. Oh, that's just like the base. Now it's just taken off. Like now I'm talking in schools. I didn't ever, I would always want to, but I never thought that I would have these so many opportunities. I didn't know about podcasts, that I could possibly be on a podcast. I love talking to people and from all over the world and listening to what they have to say about kindness. I mean, the books were just the start. So now with my mission statement, it's kind of like an umbrella. And if it fits under my umbrella and I have time for it and it feels right, I do it. But if it's not under my umbrella, I don't do it. But the apps are under my umbrella.
Mm-hmm. And that makes sense. You have to, it's like in business, you have to niche down, and if it's not within your niche, it's not going to serve you, and it's also not going to serve the people that you're trying to serve as well. It's just going to be a distraction or a drain on your time, your energy.
And you'll get frustrated because you're like, well, I'm putting so much time into it and what am I doing? And it really helps if your goal is to, I mean, it's great if you want to make money, but if that's your only goal, it kind of will leave you empty. If that's all you want to do. Later you might look back and go, all right, well, I am really rich. And that's great.
Now what?
Yeah, right. So just make sure that it is also a match with your spirit.
Yeah.
Well, and your wallet, hopefully.
Well, yeah, and I think you can absolutely have both of those things, but maybe not in the capacity that you originally thought it was going to be. Like, I follow Gary V. Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that he has been talking about lately, is this kind of distorted version of success that we all seem to have in our heads. We've all kind of been like pre-programmed or inundated with this thought that, oh, in order to be successful, like I got to have this big house and these nice cars, and I've got to be making, $1 million, plus a year, and then I'll be successful. Well, no, that's not really what success is. Like, success is living your life on your own terms, being happy, and having the financial stability to survive and be comfortable. Like,
right.
That doesn't necessarily mean having $1 million every year coming into your bank account. It could be like you're making 60 grand a year, but you're doing your own business. You're working on something that you love and that makes you happy. And that to me, it's successful.
Exactly. Especially if you also can maybe help people, and that's what you like to do.
And I think honestly that goes hand in hand. Like,
yeah, right.
And just from an energetic standpoint, I think that if you're, like you mentioned before, if your only purpose, if your why is to just amass this huge, Scrooge McDuck pile of money, that you're not going to get there. You're not going to get there because you're not adding real value to anybody's life. You're just focused on how much can I get? And I think if you shift your focus to how much can I give, then the money will start coming in and start flowing, and life will become more fulfilling.
Yes, that's my hope for myself.
Yeah. And I truly believe you're on your way to that. Like, I don't see any reason, I don't see any why how that's not going to happen for you. Truly.
Well, thank you. And you as well. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast today.
Well, I appreciate it. I was thrilled. I've been looking forward to this ever since you said yes. So I'm very happy that it happened, and this conversation's been great. And anytime you want to come back on,
Oh,
like,
thank you.
further, oh, for absolutely. Are you kidding? Any further developments in your business,
Maybe when the app goes Android.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Where it always should have been.
I told you the other one started Android. I don't know what else to tell you.
I know, I'm just giving you
I
crap.
know.
I
I
can't.
know.
I,
It's fine.
I can't help myself. It's like Chevy and Ford. We've got to give each other those little jabs.
It's fine. It's fine, Brian.
Oh, yeah. Or once you give that MIT talk or that
Oh yeah,
that
maybe
TED talk or
somebody will help me for Random Acts of Kindness Week at MIT or maybe another university. I'd
yeah,
be open to that too.
yep. There's no limitations here.
Time is my only limitation. Time and transportation, I'm there.
Well, hey, just use your Uber app and whatever, and on whatever device you have, and there you go. There's your transport. Well, Wendy, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. You have a great day.
Well, you as well, dear. And like I said, keep in touch. I'll keep up with you on LinkedIn, and any further developments, you just hit me up. We'll do this again sometime.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.